if it's time for election, and somebody comes to you and says, look, vote for me because I'm a Muslim, what tools do you need to know that he's a charlatan and he's not going to keep his promises? Just the fact that he's able to come to you and say, vote for me because I'm a Muslim, should immediately tell you that he's a charlatan.
Yeah.
And that he's not worth your vote. You understand? If there's going to be an election, somebody comes to you and says, oh, I'm a Pentecostal. The other candidate is a Catholic. And therefore, we should mobilize as Pentecostals and defeat the Catholics and so on. He's a criminal. He's a clear charlatan. It's obvious. By their words and deeds, we are able to identify them. You understand? And it gets worse when one person, in the morning, he's in the mosque, telling Muslims how he's a Muslim and why they should vote for him because he's also a Muslim and so on. And then in the afternoon, he's in a church, telling them stories about how he started his life as a boys' brigade and therefore has affinity with Christians. He's a liar. He is a liar. He has no principle. He should not be voted for. It's clear, you understand? And then I think also that people are free to belong to any religion. You are free to become a Baha'i, a Muslim, a Hindu, you know, whatever you want.
Traditionally.
You understand?
Yeah.
The 1992 Constitution guarantees that. So become anything you want. But please, don't become something because somebody told you to become something. Find out for yourself. And if you did some exploration, no archbishop will be able to stand in front of you and give you direction as to how to become a Christian. If you do some exploration yourself, no imam can stand in front of you and tell you what direction you should take. So people should begin to explore, to learn. The Bible, there's a version which is written in English. Everybody can read it and understand. You understand? Read it yourself. Don't depend on the interpretation of Bishop Kominini. You understand? Do it yourself. The Quran. I read the Quran all the time. In my office, I have 2 copies of the Quran. I read it all the time. Not because I'm a Muslim, but because I want to know.
Yeah.
I probably have read the Bible more than some of these bishops have done. You understand? So I read the Bible and I read other religious books and so on. Because you ought to know. You ought to act from a basis of information. You ought to take informed decisions and so on. Look, one of the most distinguishing things about Christ, Jesus the Christ, as told in the Bible, is his bias in favor of the working class and the underprivileged.
Yeah.
Clear. Okay? And that is why in the Catholic Church, for example, there's now a theology which is identified and recognized as liberation theology. Liberation theology. That is why in Nicaragua, Catholic priests picked up AK-47 assault rifles and fought with the people for revolution. It is liberation theology. And liberation theology has a basis. Who said that it is easier for a camel, you see a camel, a whole camel, that it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. And you know what the eye of a needle is?
Then where you put the thread.
Those of you who do, how will you call? Knitting and so on. The eye of the needle is that small hole at the back of the needle where you put the thread. So it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to go to heaven. What a statement. What a demonstration of bias in favor of the working class and the other privileged.
Yeah.
So Christian theology in its essence is liberating. Christian theology in its essence is closer to Marxism. Of course, there are differences. I mean, religion is, whatever you say, religion is superstition. Okay? And Marxism frowns on superstition. But if you look at the essence of the philosophy, if you look at the essence of Christian ethos and so on, there's some point of convergence. Because we are told that it is easier for a whole camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to go to heaven. So that theology is not mine. It's in the Bible.
Separating the church from the state is very fundamental to the evolution of secular states, and treating religion as an inherently private matter. Even though all countries believe that, I mean, you find it in their mottos and their national anthems, they believe that there's a super being, a super somewhere who guides their actions. We're saying that, recognizing that all the people cannot express one faith. All the peoples do not have the same perceptions. Indeed, freedom of choice is the essence of free expression of a will. And so, if you are in a country, you must give vent to the freedom of choice, the free will that God has given, unless you want to deny that. Because that is, I mean, the flip side of that free will is accountability, is responsibility. We are given the opportunity and permission and right to determine how we want to lead our lives. But that doesn't end there. We will one day account for that exercise of free will. Now, so it is the same thing. So the state, because we are of different faith, we are of different backgrounds, we are of different people. Backgrounds here, we have poor, rich, princes and princesses, kings, and ordinary commoners. So all of us are within a geographical space. You don't want one group of people to dominate the other. The state is very important in holding the balance and ensuring that everybody finds expression in that geographical area which have been declared and defined as a country. So the balance is held. And if the balance is going to be held, you need to remove extraneous matters that have the power to subjugate people. And like in socialism and communism, the writers have said religion is the opium of the masses. Now, so when you give religion vent, you are destabilizing the country. I mean, you are going to get people to be using emotions instead of intellect to begin to analyze what is. And where emotions come in, then you are destabilizing society, because the more you use emotions, the more your intellect becomes blunt. So there are questions that you will not ask. You're seeking answers you wouldn't find. And it will even be called blasphemy if you seek those answers or if you ask those questions. And so that is why the state, this conception of a state being secular came into being. That we should not allow religion to play a very dominant role in a country which has the potential to limit the exercise of free will. In the first time of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, I remember I was going to Mecca, and I went and goodbye him. I said, "Oh, Excellency, I'll be going to Mecca to perform some religious ceremonies." He said, "But you know, last year you went." I said, but this is 365 days. God has given us 365 days for free. Right? So let's thank God that at least we have been around for 365 days. Free insurance.
Right.
Yeah, so first of all, we have a country, Ghana.
Right.
Peaceful country. A country where we go about our respective duties and pursue our interests without let or hindrance. We need to celebrate that as a people. Within the sub-region, we are held to be an oasis of peace. Yes, recognizing that there are intestinal conflicts here and there, but largely it's a peaceful country. So that's something we can celebrate. Secondly, 1 year ago we voted a government into office because we thought that the way things were moving in this country was not good for us. Inflation was high. Poverty was on the increase. The gap between the rich and the poor was widening. And everybody was in despair. Somehow, within this 1 year, they're having a turnaround. And everybody seems to be happy. There's general agreement that things are moving on well. We need to celebrate that. I mean, this can only happen by the grace of God. And the time has come that we appreciate the sacrifices Jesus Christ made for us. So we are also appreciating the sacrifices that our leaders have made for us. That's why it's celebration time, it's joy time.
Right.
We need to celebrate that. Now, as people of faith, just like Kwesi Pratt said, those who walked this earth before in the form of prophets sacrifice to instill in us that humanity and take off the id in us, the animalistic nature in us. Somehow subdued us that we can sit in the studio, engage each other. We are looking at each other as enemies. That is a remarkable achievement by our prophets, drawing attention to our value as human beings. So when we celebrate Christmas, we are celebrating ourselves. That having come to the realization after understanding faith that there is inherent human good in all of us, we need to celebrate it and remind ourselves of the sacrifices that have been made by those who came
Honorable,
before
on
us.
the financial side, that's what I wanted you to touch on more. Do you think the average Ghanaian is well endowed to enjoy this season comparing to some years past?
Definitely.
People argue that, look, things are getting better, so to speak.
Definitely.
But the purchasing power, sometimes people think that, look, the purchasing power is not there. Still, government needs to touch on those little,
Yeah, so government is touching on them. But definitely, I'm a farmer. I tell you why Ghanaians are celebrating, even though farmers are not celebrating. But Ghanaians are celebrating. Why? Because a bag of paddy of rice last year this time was selling at about 5 cedis a kilo. And so meal rice was very expensive. Had hit 1,000 Ghana cedis, 50 kilo bag. Today it's not so. Today, locally produced rice, the highest, the most expensive is 700 or 800 Ghana cedis. For imported rice, you can get it as low as 500 cedis. You understand? Maize. I always tell a story. Last year, when I harvested my 200 bags of maize, at the time I was harvesting, it was 1,000 cedis per 100 kilo bag. 1,000 cedis. Meal is not sold in kilos. It's sold in bags. Now, that was the time I was harvesting. So I convinced myself that economics 101, the harvesting time, there's glut. So if harvesting time, the price is already 1,000 cedis. In the lean season, it will go up to 1,500 or or above 1,000. Yeah. So I stored my maize, hoping for a rainy day. The price fell and fell and fell. Today, the highest amount of money you will pay for 100 kilo of maize is 300 cedis. You'll be lucky to get it at 350. Yeah. The kilo of rice produced this year is 3 cedis 50 pesos, down from 5 cedis last year. So even though you have not seen an increase in the wages, a tremendous increase in the wages and salaries of workers, the purchasing power of workers have improved, because they can now access more goods and services from their salary than they used to. You know, inflation has plummeted. Do you remember the time inflation was 54%? It meant then that your money, when you receive your money, with inflation 54%, the real value of your money was less than 50% of what you had received. Today it's not so. So that's why we have reason to celebrate. Yes, there seems not to be money flowing about in the system, because there has been a deliberate, conscious effort to mop up excess liquidity in the system to strengthen our city. And so you don't have money flying about in the system. But that has worked to ensure that we have some level of stability.
Right.
It takes care of people who don't have enough, so that what they have is not like now penny wise, pound foolish. It's not like that. So you have small, and you are wise. You know how to spend it and get the best out of it.
Right.
Okay. So yes, we have not gotten there yet. The road to Jericho is far, but I can assure you that government is on that road.
Kwesi Pratt.
For those of us at Pan-African Television, we are happy. We are in a celebratory mood because you are watching us.
Yeah.
You are watching us. You are sending us text messages. You are participating in our discussion programs. You've made this station so big, and we are so proud of you, those of you who watch us.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, a couple of years ago when we started, we didn't even have a studio. And we had archaic cameras, cameras which were used in the 1990s, which nobody was using anymore and so on. And I recall that we had our first program in the garden because we didn't have a studio, And then we brought in experts to construct this studio, and they gave us figures which we couldn't pay. So we had a meeting here, and the staff decided to construct their own studio using foam mattresses, for the acoustics and so on. We built the first studio. That's a long story. What's the story today? Today, we are sitting here, we are using remote-controlled cameras. The studio has improved vastly. I mean, the last improvement which came into this studio was the carpeting. And I had a big quarrel with Kwame Owusu, so I thought he was wasting money by changing the carpet. Now you sit at home and you see the carpeting, and it's so beautiful. Right. Significant change. And I have to apologize to Kwame for fighting him for buying the carpet, because it's brought some remarkable change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just that. I mean, many of the people who work here came here not knowing anything about television. Came here, they didn't know anything. They were just volunteers. They were hankering for knowledge. Today, they are directors and producers of the show. Some of them are doing camera. Some of them learned English in the university and came here. Today, they're doing camera work and so on. This is remarkable improvement. But most importantly, we are broadcasting to 46 African countries.
Yeah.
46 African countries. Remarkable. We have arrangements which enables us now to broadcast to South America through Brazil, De Facto, Telesul, and so on. Significant developments. Our signals through KNET are reaching Europe. So, what else do we want? So we have every reason to celebrate, and the most important reason, it's you who is watching us at home. You are our most valuable asset. Keep watching Pan-African television, because we're trying to bring you the best in news, best in current affairs, best in sports, best in everything. Stick with us. Let's develop this station together as the station of the people. You understand? So we are celebrating, we have good reason to celebrate, and please celebrate with us. You understand? The other thing that I think is obvious, and both David and Elijah have spoken about it, the conditions in our country today are significantly different from the conditions last year. You know, I mean, and I always talk about this guy who made a video about a bag of rice, and is so angry with President Mahama for reducing the price of rice. You know, and the price of rice has gone down significantly.
Yes.
You know, price of petroleum products have gone down significantly. The macroeconomic picture is much better than last year, and so on. Of course, I'm the first to admit that there hasn't been any structural changes. There hasn't been any structural changes. We are still pursuing the neoliberal order, you know, but there have been some forward movement, and the macroeconomic environment is looking better than it was last year. That's cause for celebration.
Yeah.
It's cause for celebration. You understand? Now, we have the first ever woman vice president. Cause for celebration.
Yeah.
Cause for celebration. I mean, you celebrate. Woman vice president.
Broken the glass ceiling.
In fact, last year, 14 months ago, there were people who were swearing that the woman would never become vice president. Now we are not ready for it. Now we have a woman for vice president. That's cause for celebration.
And she's very visible.
Yes. Now, we have a lean government, 57 ministers. That's cause for celebration. You understand? What else? I mean, so many things to celebrate. But most importantly, to celebrate the philosophy of Christ, which is that sometimes we need to die a little so that others can also live a little. The message of self-sacrifice, you know, the message of community and so on, all of that is worth celebrating. And that's why I'm celebrating.
Right. Honorable, your last message, Ghanaians, family, before we...
Well, it's just to wish on this auspicious day of the birth of Jesus Christ, which has brought in the Christmas or Yuletide celebrations that we are having. Let me take opportunity of the platform granted me by Pan-African TV to wish all Ghanaians, Christians and non-Christians, a Merry Christmas. Joyous Merry Christmas. And to say that we take what Kwesi Pratt has said seriously. Let's be willing to die a little, to give opportunity to the less privileged to also live a little. Thank you.